Hi, my name is George Clouston. I'm Head of Scientific Research at BeeHero, and this is Just Ask George.
Hey, George, can you explain why it's so important to bring strong hives to the beginning of pollination?
There's a couple of different reasons why stronger colonies can perform better during almond pollination. And the first relates to weather. A weaker colony is less resilient to adverse weather conditions. And the main reason for this is that weaker colonies, smaller clusters, generally have more brood area to cover per bee. So they're a bit stretched, this is almost a strategy of smaller colonies to try and catch up. So the queen will keep laying, there's fewer bees to cover the brood, but if you have good weather conditions, they can survive that and go on and actually grow. It actually play catch up to some of the stronger colonies. However, if you hit bad weather conditions, cool, wet, there's fewer bees to cover the brood can get chilled, and the bees have struggle. There's less good foraging time, and the bees will really struggle to get going. And we found this by contrasting 2 years data. We had 2022 pollination and 2023 pollination. Now 2022 was relatively speaking a good weather year. 2023 was a very bad weather year, very cold, very wet. And what we noticed was that in 2022, some of the weaker colonies added 4 or 5 frames of bees during pollination. It was good weather, and they managed to get out and get hold of that pollen and actually grow and do quite well. However, in 2023, the bad weather conditions, the weaker colonies really struggled. They pretty much stayed the same state throughout and left not a great deal stronger when they arrived. They really struggled to get going because they were more adversely affected by the conditions. The stronger colonies are much more resilient and able to forage in colder weather. Related to that, we also did a study where we compared how bees colonies fared in different orientations. So we looked at hives that were facing due east and hives that were facing due west. What we found was, which I guess you would expect, is that hives facing due east started foraging much earlier. The sun hits the front of the hive sooner, it warms up quicker, and on average the bees were getting going 40 to 50 minutes before hives facing west. But what was interesting was when we compared the strengths of the colonies facing east and west, and we found that impact was much less on stronger colonies. So the stronger colonies were less impacted by an unfavourable orientation, say west. Whereas the weaker colonies, they really struggled to get going. So again, that shows that, in terms of foraging trips, the weaker colonies were slower to start, particularly in a west-facing situation than the stronger colonies were. Another aspect of this is that there's data to show from some independent studies plus our own research show that the relationship between the number of frames and the number of foraging trips isn't non-linear. So in other words, stronger colonies can do more foraging trips per frame of bee than weaker colonies. So they're more efficient foragers. It's a complex scenario. It depends a lot on brood status and other aspects, and forage availability, obviously, and weather conditions. But overall, you've got a situation where stronger colonies are more resilient in cool weather and will generally do more trips per frame of bee than weaker colonies. Even in good weather years, I mentioned about bad weather just before, but even in good weather years, you can have a situation where the bloom can go extremely rapidly. So the flowers open very quickly, and there's a high density of flowers coming on very quickly. And the flowers are only receptive for 3 to 4 days. So you've got a situation where you've got a huge number of flowers that need pollinating in a very short period of time, in which case stronger colonies have a better chance of getting that job done than weaker colonies.
If you have a question for George, feel free to email him at george@beehero.io. That's George at BeeHero.io, and we'll have him answer your question.